Welcome to the late summer webinar. Before we start, I would like to check with you. How many of you have already heard about 5 seasons? I would like to make our chat a little more alive. So how many of you have already heard about the 5 seasons and not the 4 as we were used to? Yes. Were you used to have only 4 seasons, or maybe you are familiar with having 5? Interesting. I have it at the back of my mind, maybe from my grandmother. So interesting. So even though we don't have it in our calendars, our dogs have it in their calendars. And us people are usually like that. Even if we feel something, even if we feel certain emotions or some other climate changes or some changes, just like that, we're very used of just throwing those things behind our back and just continue with our life like nothing is happening and not adapting really to the seasons. But as I mentioned, our dogs and also ourselves have this in our calendars because the late summer season, which we're going to talk today, is very much there. It has its own climate, its own emotions that comes into surface, their own specifics on the way we should feed ourselves and our sweet dogs. So this is something that you will gain today, and I'm going to equip you with the best practices, with holistic practices that you can do and you can implement in your home. So welcome, my name is Anya. I'm a holistic dog therapist and I did my certification for dog massage in USA, and then I continue with holistic and traditional Chinese medicine studies in Japan. I also did EMET certification. For those of you who maybe know about it or maybe just never heard about it, it's very similar to the Bowen therapy. And in my work, I notice, and with dogs that I worked, that it's not only one thing that it would need to change or that we would need to implement additionally, but usually it's the holistic, so the body as a whole view that we need to implement. And this is why I created a membership, Conscious Dog Guardians, where, of course, guardians can receive seasonal guidance on their care at home. Because I was always thinking about that. I can go to your home, let's say once per week or maybe every second week, but your dog is with you 24/7. And you are their anchor, and you are the one who can do certain changes for them. So those are very little changes. And I created this because I want to give that power back to you because you have it. And you know your dog best. And I always say that your dog chose you for a reason. And you implement each other and complement each other amazingly. So by knowing what things you can do at home, you can improve their lives so much better. And it's not only about scaling to, I don't know how many years they can achieve, but I always say it's about giving them life into their years. Because of course we all want to see that spirit for as long as possible. And of course, it doesn't make sense to have dog at 20 if we see that their spirit is gone and that they are tired. We will also talk about that. And I have 2 dogs at home. And this is how I also know that every dog, no matter if it's also in the same household, can be a different and a unique story. So if you have any special questions related to your dog, please reach out to me. I left my email here or visit my website. So before we start, I would like for you to really think about that and for this to really sink in. Our dogs are our guardians, and they're guarding us through their experiences, and they are by our side through our experiences. And we are simply holding space for them through our mindful care so that their spirit, their life force energy, is not being pulled elsewhere. And what do I mean by that? When if we talk about the homeostasis, the processes in our dog's bodies, we know about the fight or flight response, and the rest and digest. And the rest and digest state is when regeneration can take place. And if they're also in fight or flight mode, in stress, in high arousal, with the heart rate being very intense, of course, they cannot settle down, the regeneration cannot take its place. But if we create the environment for the body to heal itself, then the body can really do that. And with supporting our dogs from different angles, through food, through massage, through acupressure, and most importantly, through different seasons, we create this environment for their body to heal on their own. And it's completely the same also in our own world. But of course, if they have different stressors in their life, their whole energy will be pulled to that side, try to try to save this special stress or maybe these special circumstances. So we are holding space for ourselves and our sweet dogs to have the best conditions possible. And like I mentioned, to me, this is one of the most beautiful bond that exists. Why? Because in contributing to our dog's well-being, at the same time, we are also contributing to our own. And I'm just wondering, have you ever felt something like this before? Do you have experiences like this? When you did certain changes or certain change with yourself and you felt or saw how your dog improved, and it goes all the way around. So I think I cannot think of other bond that would have something like this. So why does holistic matter? Why are we talking so much about that? So as I mentioned, I have two dogs. My dear Tisa is with me since her puppyhood. I took her from the shelter and she's 15 years now. And just looking through her whole life, she had lipomas throughout her life, neurological episodes just in the last year. Then she suddenly stopped eating. Then she started to leak in urine. She had hot spots. So this is actually the history of all the major circumstances that she had. And of course, I learned a lot about that. And with Mila, I welcomed her in my home together with my dear partner. So when she was 4, I start, of course, to be blessed with her presence in my life. She's a whippet. She's now 7. She just entered senior years. And when I met her, she had a severe anxiety. Afterwards, some dental issues and a few sprained ankles. So you can see completely different stuff. But through all their stages and challenges, it was so important that I knew how to approach them from different angles. Because usually there's no thing that would just become or just exist by itself, but it's more of the times connected to also other things. And this is the holistic view. And this is what I'm going to share with you today as well through the season that now is in front of us. So at the end of this webinar, you're going to have the framework to better understand your dog in late summer. And I encourage you to approach all of this information with your open heart and to look at your dog with your full presence, because I already said that your dog chose you as their guardian. So they trust you with all you have, and you have this power to make their life better. And I already know that they live the best life possible because you are here Just look at you. You are here trying to get the more information as possible, as much information as possible to even improve their life. So I think they already now are the happiest they could ever be. And now I'm wondering, did any of you already heard something like this? So your dog is just getting old. Like, just forget about those symptoms. There's nothing you can do. Have you maybe already heard about something like that? Well, I did with my eldest senior, with Tisa. And I will compare the conventional view next to the holistic alternative view, just for you to understand how many information and how much information it can be lost or gained if you look through your dog through different perspective. So when I took her to the vet, that's the conventional view, her blood tests were great. Her joints were like those of a dog half her age, like textbook joints. And I joked that I will put this picture on my screensaver because the picture was so beautiful. And I was really afraid actually to take her to the vet and do the scan because I was afraid what I will see. But afterwards, when I saw that, I almost cried out of happiness. And so but I still knew that something is wrong with my dog. I saw that she's not the same. And especially when neurological episodes started, I know that even black on white, even if everything looks okay, I know that it's not. And most importantly, that I want to help her, that I want to reach her. And I got some medication to ease the symptoms. And they told me that you can expect her to be a little high, not really be herself, and she will have issues with her balance. And I was torn apart because I just couldn't continue with giving her that medication. And something inside of me was telling me, stop, there is another way. And of course, they kept telling me, this is just simply how it goes. She's getting older. But that doesn't mean that you should stop getting more information. Am I right? So when we started to do frequency therapy, osteopathic, craniosacral therapy, and herbal therapy, a lot of new information came to the surface. So we realized that the trauma from her early puppyhood, which she had buried inside of her, into her subconscious mind, beginning to surface, and that she needs even greater sense of safety, of peace, no other stimuli. Even though she was a very active and fiery dog, she now needed more peace and more calm environments. And with herbal rituals, frequency therapy, and energy healing, those therapy beautifully opened her field, and I got so many new information. I actually have additional lecture on frequency therapy only inside my membership, but there's a whole new space of information than I received. And even though the condition of my dog was at this level still the same, I was so happy because the dots connected and I get so many new information, and most importantly, I knew what my next step will be. And this is something that I also want you to see what else is also possible. And I'm not saying that conventional and the veterinary practice is bad, not at all. I think we are at the time and place when we can combine both. And this is how it should be. Because, for example, we use surgeries whenever we need it, or antibiotics when we have infections. And the holistic is something that we have, it's our care every day. And this is how I recommend also you to combine it. And just this Monday, I had a terrible accident. I stepped into the wooden stick and it went really deep into my foot. And it was so deep that I couldn't pull it out myself. And you know, when you have this time and you don't do it quickly, you have this room that you fill with fear and pain, and it just builds up. So my friend took my hands and I asked my partner to pull this wooden stick out. So, you know, certain things like this happen just out of nowhere. And the conventional medicine is amazing at exactly those conditions. So at crisis. And why I'm telling you that, after I had this accident, of course, I called my doctor and I got a shot for tetanus. Most of the people could think that this is only in some iron stuff, or maybe if the dog bites you. But the tetanus spores live underneath the soil. So if they don't get any oxygen, which can happen when the wound is really deep, this is also a high risk to get a tetanus. And of course, this is not just an infection, it can also lead to death. So, you know, just from the very little injury, you can see how conventional medicine saved me. But on the other side, as I said, conventional is good at crisis, is good at diagnosing what is measurably wrong, it's treating acute conditions, and it's intervening when the body cannot longer manage on its own. And of course, it's faster because we need it, right, in conditions like that. But holistic, on the other hand, asks more questions. It's not just what is wrong, but what pattern created it, which season we're in, what emotions we're carrying, and of course, what the guardian's nervous system is contributing to the picture of this dog, for example. So it offers more layers of support and, of course, more tools to reach for when we need it. Of course, it asks more of you because of that. So more patience, more learning, and a willingness to look not only at your dog, but honestly at yourself too. This is why it's not for everybody, and it's completely okay this as well. But if you're going to approach these practices, this is also something for you to know, that you need to open your heart and be willing to accept what it comes. It's not always what you cannot always receive the end result that you want. Maybe it's a bit different, but I promise you, at the end, you're going to be much calmer and you're going to learn so much about yourself and about your sweet dog along the way. What late summer actually is. So we will look at the season from the Western angles and from the traditional Chinese medicine angles. So meteorologically, late summer is a transitional window. We can see that the temperature changes, humidity often peaks, and the barometric pressure shifts more frequently than in the settled weeks of the summer. And for a dog's physiology, that shows up as unstable hydration, of course, the thermoregulation demand, higher environmental moisture. This affects the skin, ears, paw pads. So we can also already detect the changes in daylight. And this everything affects also a gut microbiome, because just think about it. In summer, we have different times of our walk due to the heat outside. Maybe we go on vacation and we adapt the bowls, so what we put in the bowls. Maybe they attend some picnics and they get some food they usually don't. So there are a lot of stressor also on our dog's gut. The traditional Chinese medicine view of the season is a bit different, but actually connect to the same dots. So late summer is a very short period. So it's a humid period between summer and autumn, and we will just enter it. The late summer belongs to the earth element in the 5-element theory. So the earth governs the spleen, that is responsible for transformation and transportation of food into usable energy, qi, the life force energy, and the blood, with the stomach, so the rooting and ripening of food, which is the first step of digestion. The taste of this season is sweet in, of course, traditional Chinese medicine sense. And I'm talking about the natural sweetness of root vegetables, the squash, warm grains, not the sugar. So this is the main difference. The emotion that we can feel and the emotion that also our dogs can feel is worry and overthinking. And it's a bit different with dogs. But I always say dogs feel it additionally, or let's say 2 times. They will soak up our worry and they will also feel their worry. So it's a very, very big pressure in this time of the year. The tissues in these times that are most sensitive, most under pressure, are muscle and flesh. And the sense organ is mouth and the lips. And the climate factor, as I mentioned already, is dampness. So in traditional Chinese medicine sense, earth is the center of the wheel. It's often drawn in the middle between wood, fire, metal, and water, because earth is something that grounds us. And it's actually in every transition between the other four. So this is the season that asks you, is the digestive foundation strong enough to carry the body into what's next? So after this webinar, you're gonna gain so much more information, how you can adapt your care. So you can also adapt your body and your dog's body to really prepare to enter the autumn. And you will see, just like the conventional view and traditional Chinese medicine and alternative views, also these two align somewhere. So it makes a lot of sense. So Western physiology and traditional Chinese medicine are describing the same season from two different directions, but they meet in the same place. And that's your dog's gut, skin, and the ears. So how come? Where is this connected? Traditional Chinese medicine says earth and the spleen governs transformation of food and fluid. And the Western physiology says the digestive tract and its microbiome are the primary interface between the body and the fluctuating environment. Traditional Chinese medicine says dampness is the climate factor of the season, while Western science says humidity and moisture directly affects skin barrier function, ear canal environment, and gut motility. Traditional Chinese medicine says the spleen likes dryness and dislikes dampness, while the Western medicine recognized that a damp gut environment favors the overgrowth of yeast in certain opportunistic bacteria. So you can see how much that actually makes sense. The dampness in the Western view. So it doesn't have a direct label as such, but its effects are very well documented. So in the gut, it's excess moisture, slower motility create an environment where yeast and certain bacteria can overgrow. Gut lining becomes more permeable and stool softens and becomes inconsistent. In the ears, the ear canal is warm, of course. The humidity gives yeast and bacteria exactly the environment they need to flare, which is why ear irritation spike in humid weeks, independent of allergy status. Usually, most dog guardians think about the allergy, but my main question here is, in what period of the year, in what season do you notice this? In the skin, damp environments plus a compromised gut barrier show up as greasy coats, hot spots, some interdigital irritation, and a must yeasty smell. That's very, very specific. And of course, this is all very much connected also with the energy and the mood, because a body working to process all of this has less energy for anything else, just like we mentioned in the beginning. If we contribute to homeostasis, if we contribute with the right food, the right approach, the body will have the energy to process all of this. But if there is something that they need to help themselves with, their whole energy will go there. And of course, they will have less energy for our walks, for maybe showing their true spirit, maybe, you really know what is the true spirit of your dog. And you also probably notice when this is gone. So this is usually the time that we start to think, okay, what is wrong? And even if the blood check is okay, even, if you go through all those different checks, you're not satisfied with the answer because deep down, there's something wrong and there's something going on. So the dampness that we will be able to see in this time in the traditional Chinese medicine view, traditional Chinese medicine described it as a pathogenic climate factor that is heavy, sticky, turbid, and slow to resolve. It lingers, it clouds, and most importantly, it weighs down. And when the spleen is under strain, it cannot transform fluids properly, and dampness accumulates internally, and which then makes the spleen work even harder. So it's self-feeding loop. And you see how it goes? So if your dog has soft poo, a dipping appetite, or an ear that keeps flaring up, this is actually the same condition. And this is spleen qi deficiency, spleen life force energy, deficiency with dampness. So the spleen isn't transforming food and fluid efficiently, so digestion slows and poo softens. We can see that immediately. The stomach's appetite signals weakens because the whole system feels heavy rather than hungry, of course. And this excess moisture, the spleen can't clear, settles in the ear. The body's dampest, warmest, and of course, the best corner for the body to be there. So the route here is only one, but there are 3 windows, as you can see, into the same imbalance. And this is why treating the ear alone, or let's say the appetite alone, so often doesn't give us the results that we would like to see, because we are addressing just one of those windows, but not the whole room. Body, emotions, and behavior in this time. Late summer is a transitional period, and all transitions in our lives or in seasons are expensive for any living system or any living being. And your dog's body is doing several things at once. So recalibrating thermoregulation as they land and temperature starts changing, managing gut and skin ecosystem. And anybody doing 2 jobs at once, of course, tires faster and shows strains in its most sensitive system first. So for most dogs, that is the digestion, and of course, then the skin. So the signs you can watch for in this time are softer or more variable poo, more selective or reduced appetite, slightly heavier movement or slower movement, ear or paw irritation that comes and goes with humidity, and changes in their coat texture and also your feeling underneath your hands. And the earth element emotion is worry. In your dog, this shows up a little different, and it can show as increased clinginess or shadowing you everywhere you go. And but this cannot be seen any time in the year. Just in the late summer, they have a lower threshold for small stressors, and they're seeking more physical contact, or also can be seeking more solitude. So that's nervous system looking for ground. And I'm not saying or that you should be afraid of worrying so much in the season, or the emotion of worry is not good, so I have certain things that I'm not sure about inside of me, or something that concerns me, but I'll just throw this around my shoulder and not think about it. I'm not saying that. We should welcome all of our emotions, but you can do so much if you can be honest about this. And what I teach my clients is that you talk to your dog. Whenever you feel a certain emotion that maybe is not, I don't want to use the word good, because they're not good and bad emotions, but if you feel a certain heavy emotion, don't try to hide it, because your dog already feels it. So when you feel a certain heavy emotion and you have your dog by your side and you share, of course, the household together, and especially when there's a prolonged time of this exposed, that they are exposed to this emotion of yours, and it's really difficult to just not think about that, talk to your dog and just say, I feel like this right now, and I don't know what is in front of me, and I don't know how I'm going to solve this, but I have you by my side, and that already makes me feel better. Can you feel your stomach while saying that? Something deep inside your stomach released because you're being honest, because you're not trying to hide it, or you're not trying to put some other things on top of it. And when you will be honest about your feelings, your dog will feel that too. And that means grounding. That means grounding in the emotion of worry. And it makes the biggest change in your life and in your relationship to your dog. So self-regulation of us, dog guardians. Your dog regulates through your nervous system even before anything else. So your dog doesn't need you to fix the humidity or anything external. They just need you. And they just need your full presence while the season does what it does. And not only the season, all the external factors. You are their anchor. This is why I really want you to put your hands on your heart right now and just wait a little moment, a few moments, and just realize where your thoughts are right now. We are at the webinar, but most probably you're also in the back of your head thinking about the tasks that are still waiting for you, or something that you'll need to finish tomorrow, or maybe you're hungry and you're thinking, oh, what is there in the fridge for me? We are operating under this state of awareness most of the time. And you, the real you, is underneath all of those thoughts. So whenever you'll be in front of the big challenge, come back to yourself and remember that your dog choose you for a reason, and that you already have what it takes to help them. Even if you're currently stressed from their condition, or maybe something else is happening in your life, come back to yourself. You know all the answers. We are so used to look outside of ourselves. But when you just stop and think for a moment and be really present in this moment, you'll get much more answers and much more groundedness from which you can operate. And this is the most healing exercise that you can do with your dog. Or you can be, in this way, the biggest anchor your dog needs. That's the only thing they need. So what grounding practices can you do in this late summer season? For example, a grounding breaths before feeding time, not rushing through feeding time. So the small and the slow routine, slower transitions. So leaving some 5 extra unheard minutes at the door before a walk, rather than straight rushing through the doors on a walk, right? Of course, our dogs are excited, but we shouldn't be following always that energy. We are the guardians for them. And most importantly, in seasons like that, in the transitional seasons or in autumn and winter, we should be the one who are leading them. So also one of the things you can implement, a consistent evening wind down, a massage, acupressure, which you're going to learn today, because earth element thrives on rhythm, and rhythm is regulation. And just like I mentioned before, naming your emotions out loud. When you will remember, we're going to caught yourself in emotions like that, try to do that exercise, try to do that practice. At the beginning, it's going to be a practice, but at the end, it's going to be your way of life. and you will see how much your life and your dog's life will improve along the way. And when we are already in these grounding practices, I promised you to share one of my favorite Qigong rituals. You can do it right now with me, or you can follow along later on. You're gonna also receive the recording. So remember that whenever your breath goes, the Qi follows, the life force energy, this life inside of you. We're so often maybe holding ourselves like this or under stress, or we start breathing and the Qi cannot go there. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna move a little bit on our chair, because most of us spend a lot of time on our chair. So this is something that you can do whenever, wherever. And we will place both hands under our navel in the lower abdomen. And first we will do a long inhale and a deep exhale 5 times. This is 1. 2. 3. And you can do a longer exhale than inhale. 4 and 5. Okay. Now we will put our hands like this and just do it like this, open our chest, look up with our chin, and then round our spine. Bring the elbows together and do it again. And this way we are moving Qi throughout our body, through our spine, that is usually locked in the same position. And release the shoulders, open the chest. And we do it 2 more times. And exhale when we round the spine. And inhale when we open again. And exhale. Already, if you do this while you're sitting and maybe feel some stress, or you want to feel more energized, I invite you to do this exercise and pay attention to how you're going to feel. Of course, I recommend you to do 5 repetitions, but the more you will do, let's say 10, you're going to feel completely different. So I added also another exercise, another ritual, and it's called Dog Wags the Tail. So it's actually bringing up more energy into our bodies. So we move the spine like this, side to side. It's like carrying happy energy through our spine as we would have a little tail. So don't be afraid, don't be shy. For all of you that don't have camera on, especially you cannot be shy. So you can do like this, and if you lose your rhythm, just focus on your tailbone and wiggle it again. You can have your hands on your legs and just shake. And just pay attention how much fiery energy is there in your body and how it goes through your spine and your hands and your hips. This is all very hard and stick together, but if we do exercises like this, we can really feel alive. Okay, now to end this practice, we will leave our hands like this and just shake it. Shake as much as you can. In this way, we release and relax our wrists. And not only that, the acupressure points on the inner wrists connects to the heart meridian. And that means that it will help clear emotional stress. So I recommend to do that for a minute and then release your hands. Circle your shoulders a little bit. We'll do it 3 times. Okay. Now close your eyes and pay attention how you feel. You can feel your hands being filled with energy, shoulders, your chest. I'm sure you can breathe more lightly, more fully. And most importantly, you connected to yourself again. And this is a very simple and a very fast exercise you can do anytime on your chair, behind your table, not maybe in your car. I don't recommend you to do that in your car, but there's really no excuse to do that. So maybe it was 5 minutes, but you grounded yourself so beautifully. And I always include rituals like this because your dog will feel it too. So especially when you will feel and in the seasons that are ahead of us, so late summer and then autumn and winter, it's going to be especially important to know this kind of aces in your sleeves and to help yourself and to love yourself with exercises like this. Supporting spleen and stomach. So the guiding principle for you to have in your mind in late summer for your dog is warm cooked food, which is easy to transform. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the digestion is seen as a bowl being heated under the fire. So this is, let's say, how it is with all younger dogs or adult dogs. But when your dog is getting older, this fire underneath their bowl, so the digestion, gets weaker. So every time we cook food for our dog, we actually help them to bring this fire to place. So they don't need that much fire to digest food because it's already cooked. And this is very important how we can help them, especially in this transitional period. And if our dog is older, if our dog is senior. So we can also implement naturally sweet foods. I'm not talking about the sugar. Please pay attention to this. But we are talking about the sweetness of root vegetables and whole grains. So the foods that that I recommend you to start putting drops of it into your food, if you're not already feeding your dog like that, is cooked pumpkin and squash. So pumpkin it's a very important how much you introduce. I recommend you to introduce it slowly and with smaller amounts because this can also affect your dog's gut, but otherwise it's very nourishing, so in small amounts. Sweet potato as well, it's very grounding and most importantly, it's easy to digest. Well-cooked oats, also ginger in tiny amounts, very little of ginger. So this supports stomach's transformative function, especially when appetite is dipping. And I recommend you to really slice it into tiny pieces and to hide it into your dog's food, because maybe if they will smell it, it will be something new and they usually don't want to eat it. But if you're gonna really make smaller pieces and mix it into your dog's food, especially if there's also a mixture of something that they like, they will eat it faster. And something that I'm a big believer and a big fan, bone broth. So I already did also a separate lecture on bone broth, how to prepare it and the benefits. So that's one of the best food on vitality that you can offer to your dog. And I prepare it always also like this, that I prepare a little bigger amount and then freeze it into these ice cubes. and then I add it into, for example, now in summer, I add it just to my dog's water, so they weren't just drinking water. Also with us humans, if you're just drinking water, you're just washing yourself from all the minerals and vitamins. But if you're adding something additional, some salt or maybe some lemon juice for us people, but bone broth to dogs, they can get a lot of vitamins, minerals, and other help, collagen, let's say, and other very, very nourishing ingredients. And I will just say here, then bone broth, actually, I believe it saved my life. One of the things that saved my dog's life, because when she stopped eating, like I mentioned at the beginning, at one time I was introducing her 4 different types of meals at the same time, and she was a heavy eater. She back in the day, she ate everything and as much as she could, and it was heartbreaking for me to see just a few months ago how she just stopped eating and she didn't even touch her favorite food, and I was devastating. And that, for most dog guardians, is a big alarm when something like that happens, because of course they lose energy and a lot of other stuff is connected to this. But I made bone broth, and she was just drinking bone broth for quite some time. And she got back to herself and immediately to her spirit. And, when you see improvements like this, of course, it's one of the most beautiful things that you can see. But then you are a true believer and you are adding those things to their food, even when they're healthy. And I don't want you to have conditions like this or to start only when you'll see certain conditions. But I think that we have this webinar and I have you here because you want to improve your life, and and because you're interested on what can you do today or tomorrow or during the weekend that you will at least in a tiny amount improve your dog's health and your dog's life. And so this is it. This is one of the things. Cooked carrots, then, if we move forward, it's also naturally sweet and it's very easy for the spleen to transform. And again, it should be cooked. Of course, you can give it raw, but when we are talking about the late summer lens and the foods that are not too heavy for spleen and stomach, then I recommend you to choose cooked carrots. And of course, different type of lean proteins. And I will also mention that in my Conscious Dog Gardens membership, I offer every season, I post new recipes, because here we're talking just in general, but if you want to have a step-by-step process, you're kindly invited to join and see how you can also improve in your cooking. But don't be afraid. Every recipe is not an overkill. Each and every recipe I actually segmented into 3 different steps. So there's one step if you never introduced, let's say, cooked food or raw food, or your dog was just eating kibble and now you want to improve with tiny steps. We have step 1 that is not too heavy on their digestion. Then step 2 is like a transition. Maybe we already introduced some other proteins, some other fat, some other vegetables and herbs. And then the third step is actually a full transition, when you can start to give your dog a full traditional Chinese medicine meal based on the season. And again, this is not something major. I always make sure those are the things that you can get in your local market, or maybe you already have in the fridge. So it's very, very accessible. And when you start feeding your dog like this and you see how much their energy improves, you never wanted to go back. So this is also one of the possible improvements that you can make at home. Foods that I recommend you to reduce during this window, this is very important. So raw and cool or cooling foods, which ask more of the spleen transformative work, just like we were talking before. It needs additional fire, right? So raw and cooling foods are just interfering with this fire. So there's a lot of stress on already working spleen, right? Then on the other hand, very rich, greasy, fatty foods, fatty treats. So all of those are dampness forming. And of course, dairy, which in traditional Chinese medicine therapy is also considered dampness producing. I sometimes hear, yes, but I give my dog cheesy treats. If you do, I kindly invite you to reduce that in this time of the year, because even though if they're wagging with their tail, their spleen in their stomach is not wagging, and they will feel it in their stomach. And most of the time they're wagging their tail because you are paying attention to them. So if you would transform this into a play, maybe offer some other treat, maybe go hide and seek, maybe something other, maybe offer a massage, they will be also wagging their tail. So there's a lot of things you can do instead of that. And I'm not saying that the treats are bad, but there is always a way that you can adapt to a season and make your dog's life even better, not actually to put additional strain on their bodies. So I promised you to teach you an acupressure point, and this is spleen 6. Spleen 6 is very easy to find. I would just like to check, do you see it well? Let me just open a chat to see if also there is some other maybe question. No? Okay. I assume also that you see it good. Okay, that it's not covered with my screen or something. Let me know if it is. So spleen 6 is an amazing point which can help with all of the mentioned things that you see on the surface before. And also it's very good with lipomas, for example. So how do you find it? You can already do it today, and I'm all ears how it's going to work for you. So before we start, I would like to tell a little more about acupressure. Acupressure is, of course, boosting the qi, the life force energy through the meridians in the body. And each organ system is connected to a certain meridian. And whenever we see certain blockages in the body that can be visible on the outside, and please remember, whatever is happening on this inside can be seen on the outside. So if you see something on the outside, the chances are that something different is happening in your dog's body. So in this way, we are contributing to our dog's well-being because we are making the blood flow, right? We are boosting the blood with our pressure of our fingers, and we use one finger or maybe two to maybe more, this is the harder pressure and this is more softer pressure, maybe for the beginning. We can of course just press, we can do circles, or we can do like this, right? I'm now exaggerating, but like this, right? Put it down, so like this. Those are different types of acupressure. And of course, acupuncture is used on the same spot. We just use different tool with acupressure press. We're pressing our fingers, but with acupuncture, we use the needles. And acupressure is something that you can do at home. And I recommend you, if your dog is not used to it, to first do the, let's say, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then you can increase from 1 minute to 3 minutes. But at the beginning, just so your dog can remember that in some beautiful manner, so he or she will connect that to something beautiful, to your presence, to your time together. I recommend you to do first 10 minutes and then continue. And don't make the pressure too hard. We always start with the pressure like we would touch our eyeballs. So you can start and you can test it yourself, how this feels like. And you can maybe be surprised because that's a really, really light pressure, but your dog is, first of all, your dog has less kilos than you, so they don't need that much pressure, maybe as maybe other human fellow being would. but also in this way, we're not doing any harm and we are communicating with our dog. So we're not reinforcing something that we would want, but we are inviting them to the ritual. And if they will lean into our touch, if they will show that they want more pressure, they will show it to you. And you can do more harm than good if you try and press too hard, because again, they will lock this inside their head and have something that wasn't good for them, and something they should be afraid of, right? And it will be very hard for you to continue. So this is why we always start with lighter pressure. So how to find spleen 6? Go on the inside of your dog's hind leg, locate the ankle bone and inside of the knee. That's the first picture. I actually have my beautiful mannequin here, so I'm gonna try to follow along like this. So first you go, maybe I can do like this. So you measure this area, and then we measure the space between them and put it in half. That's a second picture. So put it in half, and then on half again. And our point is just where this half is. So just where our finger is, just behind the edge of the bone. And remember that the majority of acupressure points is never on the bone itself, but usually in the valleys, in between the bones, muscles. So look for the softer area. And I need to say that please be careful, because spleen 6 is traditionally contraindicated in pregnancy. So please avoid it if you have a pregnant dog. As I mentioned before, all of what we look into today and a step-by-step tutorials I offer in my Conscious Dog Guardians membership. So it's a monthly content aligned, monthly rituals aligned with the seasons, 9 models. And just now at the end of August, I'm gonna add another one. And I'm very much looking forward to it. It's actually an energy transmission exercise for you from my dear colleague and one of my dear spiritual mentors. And I need to say, everything that I am, I actually I'm thankful for this meditation practice, because it was there for, it really made me go through the most difficult periods of my life, even when my dog was had her neurological episodes and I needed to find myself again, or the challenges you have. It's a beautiful practice that reminds you to be an observer. So this is just one of the models that is inside of Conscious Dog Guardians membership. So there's a dog massage, of course, aligned with the season, acupressure point, just like this. We now went through the just visual pictures, but in the membership you have a video, so you can always follow along. You have herbal rituals, seasonal recipes, so exactly the amounts and all the different ingredients. And then, of course, a corner for you, because as you see in my webinar, I always include you as well. A holistic means something only if you are included into that, because you are the anchor for your dog. This is why I included also yoga, Qigong, and Kung Fu. So Qigong with the water element to feel the water element inside of you. And Kung Fu is not a fighting practice, but it's actually a contributing and remembering the fire inside of you. So it's a fiery practice. So what you're learning is always relevant to what your dog is experiencing. And I have a very special announcement. In the next 48 hours for anybody who will join, I will also give you my Herbal Ball group program that I had last year. It was very successful. Herbal Ball therapy course. It's a recording, so you'll know more about this therapy. You'll know also how to wrap your own herbal ball at home. Just because I love this therapy so much, and we will also take a look into as we go. But it's one of the most beautiful therapies. It's completely natural, and dogs accept it very well. And I believe in that so much that, yes, I'm giving this out for free if you join in the next 48 hours. As mentioned, herbal therapy is actually three therapies in one. So it's the heat therapy, acupressure, and the herbal therapy. And I'm going to show my herbal ball, and I take it everywhere I go on every vacation because, of course, if the dogs are coming with me, it's always nice to have something for their muscles, for their regulation. And I was actually using that on myself as well, on my tummy. So it smells so beautifully. When you will heat it up, the whole room smells very nice. So the process already starts then. But what does it do? So the heat therapy, so the warming of the muscles, why does it matter, right? Why does it matter, the heat therapy? Because it helps unstick fascia that has grown tight and stuck together, maybe due to the injury, maybe due to the years. And of course, it allows movement to become more flexible again. Then acupressure, because we're pressing on different areas of the body and not just the different spots, but also on different chakra areas. That supports the flow of chi throughout their body, and of course supports the organs that a certain meridian is connected to. And herbal ball, just herbs, right? The scent therapy adds this scent memory ritual that speaks directly to the limbic system of our dog's brain. So that's the part of our brain that processes emotion and that stores memory even before they can do anything else, even before the logic, even before words. It connects instantly. And not only that, I think the most beautiful thing about it is when you have your dog under stress, they're maybe injured or they are after surgery, or maybe also they're not being used to touch. Uh, the warmth speaks in the language they really know, because when they were puppies, when they were just little, the warmth was their first language of love. That was the first language of the shelter of peace. So, because they felt it with their mothers. So, when they feel that, they immediately calm down, they rest, and then the smell kicks in, and that happens very fast. And they will remember this whole ritual of something nice. And also, you are beside them. So it's a win-win situation, and you can do so much through this therapy. I receive, not only I saw how herbal ball therapy helped my dog when she had neurological episodes. Her breathing was faster, like for an hour straight. Her heartbeat was fast, and I didn't know. I felt helpless. So, did you ever feel helpless with your dog? I'm also wondering um, if you felt helpless. What was the thing that you did? Were you then in their energy as well? Were you under stress, or were you their anchor? That's a very difficult question and very, very difficult demand. I completely understand that. In that moment, I went to heat up the herbal ball, and I start to put it on the root chakra, which is actually the feeling of safety. And I addressed that she is safe, and I was, of course, paying attention and setting the intention. And the most beautiful thing happened. Her breathing slowed down, her heartbeat also slowed down. And I was so grateful that I actually managed to calm my dog down in such a beautiful and not invasive way. So I wish also for you to experience something like that. So the herbal ball late summer ritual that I also promised you, for all of you that you already have it at home, I'm so happy. I heard there are quite a few members that already ordered the herbal ball. Of course, you can order that with me, but if you'll join the Conscious Dog Guardians membership, you'll be able to do it yourself at home. You'll get all the instructions, so you can follow along. Of course, we will address the spleen meridian. First, you align with your intention, and that already starts when you heat up the herbal ball. You can use an oven, you can use a microwave or a hair dryer, and take your own grounding breaths. This is when the process starts. So we always begin at the shoulders, not exactly on the point itself, at the shoulders, so our dogs can get familiar with what we're going to do. We open with slow, warm strokes along the back and the shoulders, and then we continue to the inner hind leg. We follow the spleen meridian area with slow and then circular strokes. And then we pause at the spleen 6 point, as you saw before we are actually bringing the herbal ball to the belly. And then when our dog is visibly calm, we use clockwise circles along the navel and following the direction of digestive flow. And we always end the ritual with our hands resting on our dog. Why is that? Because we let their nervous system integrate what just happened before we continue with anything else. We are there, present in this moment, and in this way, we are letting them know that they are important for us, and that moment is very magical. And you will see how much things you can get to know about your dog. I believe that a whole new world will open up for you. And this is a ritual that I recommend you to repeat during late summer, so during the mid of September. And consistency is what turns this into a ritual that your dog's limbic system will recognize and welcome. And most importantly, this will be also visible not on the inside, but also on the outside. And the herbal late summer ritual is also part of our Conscious Dog Guardians membership, where you can get the video and you can follow along. So to end our webinar, Conscious Late Summer Guardianship, how should I approach my dog? So the earth element doesn't rush. That's the pause between this expansion of the summer that we all felt and the slow contraction of the autumn. And a guardian who tries to keep up that summer high energy because it's so beautiful. Yeah, let's continue that as much as we can. Or the one who rushes ahead into autumn's routines too early, asks the dog spleen to do the work of holding 2 seasons at once. Please remember that. So we are the ones who pace the season with, as you heard, unhurried rituals and meal times, warm cooked food. And if you think logically, what are we doing while we are cooking food? We are slowing down the ritual of preparing food. We're not just putting something to the bowl and here you go, you can eat. But while we're preparing food, while we're cooking food, we are actually showing love, showing presence, and this energy can be felt through food, and the energy is everything. So how you will prepare food in this time matters even more than in all other seasons. And of course, just as you just learned today, spleen 6 acupressure point, acupressure routine, and herbal ball ritual for this spleen. And if you're going to be doing this, by the time the metal element will arrive, the structure, the letting go, maybe also the more difficult emotions, you will be well prepared and your dog will be well prepared, well nourished to hold everything that the upcoming season will bring. This is very important. Otherwise, we just rush through life and feel exhausted and we don't know where is this coming from. This is coming exactly from not being adapted to the seasons. And it doesn't actually demand so much from us. the food we have at the local market. There's always a seasonal food at the local market. And when we feel a certain energies, especially in the late summer season, the dampness outside, that asks us to act differently. But we're so used to just have the same rhythm. So I hope you actually caught some things that you can implement in your home. And I also will offer you a holistic tip for the midday sun exposure. As you can see here on the right, maybe some of your dogs are already exposing themselves on the sun, their belly, or maybe they are lying belly side in a patch of a beautiful sun on the balcony, on the terrace. So this actually, it's their natural way of approaching the season as it should be, because this is applying the season's antidote, the warmth and dryness, directly to the body's dampness prone center, to their tummy. So if you will be seeing your dog doing that, encourage that. And I also encourage you to do that. So when was the last time you put your belly on the sun? Thank you so much. We came to the end of this webinar. It was my big pleasure and always to have you live like this. And please remember, your dog's body already knows how to move through this season. Conscious guardianship is about slowing down enough to walk alongside it. I'm very happy to have you here. And I'm also staying available for all your questions that you might have. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your day. Bye.